you say that some of the limitations is the viral nature of social media? If you look at an example with the BP crisis that happened, which just ended up being viral online on the negative side for BP, would you say that that is a limitation, and as a result some major corporations would require a crisis management team to deal with such scenarios?
Because word on Twitter, if I may, spreads, or on social media in general, spreads so very, very, very fast. You have to have a presence, A. B, you have to respond. Yeah. It doesn't matter if what people are saying is insulting. It's negative. You have to respond. You have to have a stand, and it has to be immediate. Yeah. Because you do not want to seem uncaring. And you do not want to come out as arrogant on social media, because it's social media is very personal. It's one-to-one, and I'll tell. For instance, I have a follower, and if I tell him that you did something, he's going to believe me because he trusts me, because he's my friend and he trusts me. So I think companies have to be very, 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 very careful. And like you said, crisis management, and it has to be immediate. Don't wait until whatever. Don't wait until it's a crisis. It has turned into a crisis. Just respond immediately. Yeah.
Well, I think BP had quite. I think you have to deal with culture also in terms of adoption, because some of the time new technology is viewed as it's warning shots to many who are traditional about what they've been doing best. And of course, this is forgetting that, we are likely to get the same results if we keep doing the same things we've been doing before. And of course, dealing faced with innovations and hunger for the consumer who is more knowledgeable now and who knows their rights. I think it's embarrassing for brands not to be online, or at least being proactive, because they're losing out on the most important aspect of it, which is engagement. And social media itself is an art. It's the art of engagement, and that's what we believe in. And we like to see brands respect the medium and at least also leverage on it. It's not an enemy, and I think just like another tool, whether it's a fork or spoon, I think it's how you use it. And I think people need to understand the need to know how to use their tools best, and people who are good at using those tools and make use of them.
Okay. Now, Vision Africa asks, how can we convert online support into humanitarian offline initiatives such as Feed KE, which is going on this week, that translates into cash and not just likes, RTs and shares, which is a problem that a lot of these initiatives seem to face. Somebody will retweet, somebody will like, somebody will share, but there's not much going on as far as donations are concerned.
No, actually, I think seeing is believing. I think it's not enough to tell someone you can do it. Why not have, for instance, that particular campaign involves the Kenya Red Cross. Why not put out a video with with a representative of the Kenya Red Cross talking about that initiative? Why not show influencers contribute? Why not show influencers who have contributed in a video, maybe, or maybe they show their M-Pesa contributions and stuff like that, because some people don't trust. Some people don't trust some of these initiatives. They think that it's a money-making venture. So you have to make them believe that this is legit, and that is one way of doing that, because people have been swindled before. So yeah.
Okay, I think they're all good. There are good campaigns out there that are running, and I think this specific one, Vision Africa, I think these are causes. We're talking about causes, and people, we love being associated with good, and social good. It's a hard sell for people if you don't integrate other media channels that are necessary. because social media itself is about transparency, and I think the more you can combine video, pictures, and also, if necessary, TV, traditional video also plays also important part to really make that complete connection, because let's face it, not everyone is online. There are people also who are offline who don't know what to do online, or have no clue, what goes on out there. And I think by also directing the same in the papers, and of course identification of the audience, who are you talking to, and also what options, why are you landing them, because maybe you are sharing this information, but it has no end. What are the results? Are you having any results? What's the progress? Where can we see this progress? How do we check this information? That always comes back to us. So we're looking again about authentication of the accounts and the campaigns, and so how genuine are they? So I think the more we can able to integrate all the communication channels, I think the better for the success of the campaign. So I think there's a lot to do for people to understand, and of course leaving the job for the people who might best there.
But I think also we've had quite a few successful do-good initiatives online, such as your Team British, which worked quite well, and somehow seemed to have the authenticity minus the pictures. Maybe you could analyze that and just explain why that particular one worked better than this one, despite the fact that they both share the same.
I think in that particular case, the campaign was run by someone, by an influencer, and someone a lot of people know, and then it was supported by very, very many influencers as well, and also what she did was she has the story, because it originated in a blog post, or it originated on Twitter. Then she did a post about it, and then some people, I included, posted it on our blogs, and I used my network to use my network to market that initiative. So I think this particular case, I think it was the influencers, and the influencers were saying that I endorse this, and I have actually contributed. And then something else happened. Some people started pledging stuff. They said, the influencers as well, they said, if I'll give this to number 50, the 50th contributor, like that. And it was very successful.
Who would you say influencers are on mediums such as, on your Facebook, you have your Facebook king and queen. I don't know if anybody else on Facebook would be considered an influencer, but on a medium such as Twitter, influence is a very important aspect of, down to even business, down to being crowned a social media expert. Who would you say influencers are, and how do they come about being influencers in that case?
I think first, the platforms themselves are different. I think I'm vouching for Twitter to being more open than Facebook, because Facebook, depending on how many people have viewed it, it's like having with close circles of friends, you have to make a request for you to be heard or to be noticed. So you may have friends on Facebook you don't talk to. Twitter, you likely talk to them more often. So you're having different limitations that come with each application or platform. And what that allows is, opens up to is, do we in the end share, and what are we sharing? So most of the time it comes down to the people who are sharing what, and also how many followers they are having, and the fact that also these people also have not restricted themselves in a box. They also appear somewhere else, and they're able to, you're able to attach a face to an account on Twitter or Facebook. And of course that enhances the connection that was made before, as much as previously it was just about content. And of course it has to be about what you're sharing, what you're contributing, and maybe the effect has had on me. So you have to really connect with the followers and those that are following your network, such that now you're able to be seamless and of course have to deliver.
Sambubu asks, do Kenyan CEOs understand social media, or is their understanding limited to just a web page?
In my opinion, a majority of them do not, and that's the reason why even we find very few CEOs on Twitter. Martin O'Doyle, I think that's his name, of KCB, he joined Twitter because he was encouraged by Bob Collymore. They haven't gotten it yet. Yeah, maybe we're headed to a place where social media and management will be one thing, but unfortunately we're not there yet. And not even CEOs, some marketing managers are not even online.
Most.
Yeah, yeah, and not even not even, let's just say even if they're on Facebook, all they do is just go to the account, which is very private. It only has their family members, and that's it. They're not on Twitter. So how, if your marketing manager is on Twitter, how are you going to find out about on Twitter?
Okay, I think it has to be. It's always a culture. Let's blame it on culture and how ready are we to evolve and become more innovative, because all these are solutions. These are tools to allow us to become more productive if we really understand how to use these tools. And if you really understand that, by measuring whatever it is, we can actually do it. And so you find that there is a disconnect between the top executives and the technology itself, and of course the people themselves are using this technology without considering the fact that the person in the shamba understands which djembe is the right one for them for the job, as opposed to the boss. And the same thing, like even for house help knows which powder soap to use better than the owner of the house will do, because it's not definitely their job. But I think also there's need to understand the fact that technology is still a friend, and of course training is very important. So I think they need also to make that, I think, a big point to consider, and of course what that allows them to know what their customers are thinking, because CEOs, there's this tendency that they're untouchable, they cannot be reached, of course, because of the bureaucracy which has been there before, and yet these technologies have broken walls of communication. So I don't have to go through the cell phone dashboard to be redirected to Bob Collymore or Mungo Kifati, to speak to them. I can directly, speak to Mungo Kifati, and I can launch any question about Vision 2030. And he's very responsive and is very active. And I think that's encouraging for people to actually even identify the actual mouthpieces and the brand identities that represent the business themselves. So it's quite hard.
There's hope and there's the ones who defeat hope.
True.
Okay, which is the best tool to determine web traffic? According to Edge, web hosts come with analytics pre-installed, but Salim says that pre-installed is not necessarily best. So what would you say?
Google Analytics. It's free, or even you can get a paid version, which is even better. But even the free version is amazing. Yeah, and I use the one for the web host, Google Analytics, and they're amazing.
Do you also use Alexa?
Alexa, okay. For instance, when I want to know the popularity of my blog, per region, or rather in Kenya, yeah, I use Alexa.
And you, what do you see?
Pre-installed. Yeah, okay, but I say all these are sources. I usually don't limit myself to what sources or which tools I use. What I usually actually use them for is for confirming what this dashboard or this application is giving me to authenticate the information that each of these applications are designed to extract. So it's a way also of confirming whether the link or the traffic that I'm trying to track is real, and the numbers or the identities or locations of these guys, can able to be determined, so I at least have that the reassurance that I'm speaking to the right people and I'm being guided in the right direction, as opposed to being duped into a specific direction that you cannot confirm. So they are diverse, whether it's Hootsuite, whether it's pre-installed, whether it's Facebook insights that are that are available and pre-installed. So all those are very important, and I still I regard them as very serious and very important. But I don't take anyone for them as exclusive. Yeah.
As a parting shot, what would you say about social media in Kenya and let's say East Africa in general? Because some people say we are reflective of the region.
Okay. I think that more and more people are online now, and I think in Kenya there are like 10 million internet users. I stand to be corrected, and they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, and I think that, if I may, I think that companies should pay more attention to social media. If you look at the companies that are on Facebook and Twitter, they're very few.
That are actually active while on their Facebook.
Exactly.
And
yes.
Twitter as
yes.
well.
And they, number one, that some companies, I know some companies don't even offer. Even technology companies don't even offer support, and they're on these platforms, and there's no engagement. They only tell you stuff. There's no engagement. They don't ask stuff. They don't want to know anything about you. They just all they do is just push content, which in my opinion is not helpful. So why are you there in the first place? And also I think social media will help us communicate. How do I put it? Social media will help us communicate individually. For instance, I don't know very many people in Rwanda, but right now, if I wanted to, I could reach out to them on Twitter, and I could have conversation with them, even on a business level, since on Twitter you could talk about anything. Yeah.
Well, I think the parting shot there will be, if it can't be measured, it can't be done. And I think it's time we stopped trusting what people tell us, and we go outside of our own borders to find out the truth of the matter and get the right sentiments and context in which the information is being shared. Because like Mother is saying, Paul Kagame is online and is very proactive. The accounts that have been hijacked, so like a PLFM issue, I have now two accounts, one talking to each other, like, no, you are not the right one, no, you are not the right one, I'm the official one. So you can cause a scene also by not being there. Someone is going to hijack your identity, someone is likely also to misrepresent your brand and everything that you stand for. So not being there definitely does not help you in the short and the long term. So I think it's time people really jumped into the ship and they also asked for help where they need it. And I think, business, I think it's the next frontier in business. The more we adopt it, the better, and the more Africa also gets its respect. So it's a way also of understanding the bigger picture beyond ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome.